You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I hope wherever you are in the world and whatever you're doing, you are doing very well. You're about to listen to a conversation with the very best rock and roll frontman that you've never heard of before. His name is Mr. Robin McAuley, and I really mean that. He is an outstanding frontman. Go and check out some of the videos on YouTube. He's got a heck of a voice, and he's got a wonderful stage presence. He's a part of the Schenker Fest, who have a new album, which was released, I think it was in February. Yep, that sounds about right. It was called Resurrection. Robin appears on a few of the tracks there. We talk a little bit about that, but we really do talk about Robin's outstanding career. Strap yourselves in. Here we go. Here's the man, Mr. Robin McAuley. Andy Mackay-Smith calling from Bundaberg in Queensland, Australia. So how are you going?
I am doing good. How are you doing?
I'm very well, mate. I'm very well, mate. I was certainly looking forward to our chat. So, mate, it must be the evening over there or late in the afternoon, I take it.
Actually, it's just past 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, it's the sprightly time of 7 a.m. here, so that's all good. You know, rise and shine early. The early bird gets the worm, mate. So.
It's nice and shiny and sunny here. How's it with you?
Well, we had that. I mean, obviously, you know, we get the same environmental conditions in terms of the lunar atmosphere. So we had that. Was it blue moon or blood moon or whatever we had last night? So that.
Oh, it was pretty awesome, wasn't it? Awesome.
It was killer. It was spectacular.
It was amazing.
I got a wonderful photo of it just on my iPhone, actually.
Yeah. It was amazing. I thought I could just reach up there and touch it. It was so close.
Yeah. It's pouring with rain at the moment. That's because I'm right on the Tropic of Capricorn. Where I'm at, so it's sort of it can be as calm and as peaceful as you could imagine one moment, and then about an hour later it can be torrential rain, like as it does happen in the subtropics. So we've had some rain overnight, but no dramas, mate. We need the rain. It is what it is.
It sounds like me. I'm a Capricorn Aquarian. I'm a Cuspian, so I can go either way.
Rightio. So your birthday must be either in the next week or very soon.
Last week, actually, the 20th, yeah.
Last week. Oh, belated happy birthday, mate.
Well, thanks, man.
Mate, I'll kick things off, because have you got someone that's interviewing you after me?
Yes, I do. I have one more after you, believe it or not.
Okay.
I've been going at it strong all day. It's great.
Oh, good on you, mate. Well, as I say, mate, I've been looking forward to having a chat with you because I had followed your career individually, certainly alongside of the parallel career that you've had with Schenker, and I've always felt that you're an extraordinarily accomplished vocalist. You know, you're one of the best in the biz, to be frank. So, please tell me about your musical partnership.
That is very kind of you.
Yeah, well, I think you're very underrated, mate, and I just... Yeah, well,
Thank you. You know, I go all the way back to my Grand Prix days with Michael, back to, I think, 83, 84, when he came to see a show in London, and then I had a call to see if I'd be interested in joining. I didn't. And then, coincidentally, I ended up in Germany 4 years later, working with a studio project called Fall Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a recut of Stairway to Heaven, and that was a huge success. And then Rudolf Schenker started to contact me, and I was the last of 17 singers auditioning with Michael. And I was still sitting on the fence, you know, did I want to do it, did I not? I mean, I'd known Michael because we shared the same record label on Chrysalis Records when I was with Grand Prix. Anyway, fast forward, I got offered the job. He wanted to change the name. We had a big discussion about that. I didn't really think it was necessary to change the name. He did, but we still kept the MSG logo. And, you know, most of our records were geared, I guess, towards the U.S. market. Some of the Schenker fans liked it, some didn't. You know, it was the 80s. Music had changed. I think if we had been doing what he did in the earlier MSG days with Gary, it may not have flown so much. But you know, you move with the times, you change. And in '92, saw the end of McAuley Schenker Group. I moved on. I got married. Yay! My twin boys are I kept my hand in. I did a lot of tribute records, did a solo record with the guitar player from Survivor, and then I ended up joining Survivor some years later, and was with Survivor for about 5-6 years. I love what I do. I take good care of the voice. It's the only instrument I have. And I've been very fortunate also to be part of a classic rock show here in Las Vegas for the past 5 years, over 1,200 shows. It's called Raiding the Rock Vault. And it has a plethora of amazing, talented musicians, from Doug Aldrich from Whitesnake to Howard Leach on guitar from Heart, to Hugh McDonald on bass from Bon Jovi, to Jay Shellen, who now just joined Yes playing drums, to Michael T. Ross playing keyboards, who was with Lita Ford Band, Tracy Guns, Rowan Robertson, Andrew Freeman on vocals, Paul Shortino on vocals, Mark Bowles on vocals, Sean Coley on vocals that sings with Meatloaf. So it's like, what a treat, huh? You get everybody in the same place at the same time. Not always. They're not always in every night, but, we all tour, and like I'll be touring with Michael all of March and into April. But it's a huge revolving door of cast members. So I love what I do. I'm fortunate to still be able to work. I'm very fortunate to still have my voice and enjoy my work. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. And look, it does, obviously the opportunity to have a chat to you has come about through the album Resurrection. Now, I could be mistaken here, but this has more of a full-on power metal vibe than some of the other material, because I'm not so familiar with Michael's individual music. I've got to say, of course, I'm aware of his reputation. But is this album, is this a statement about Michael Schenker Fest as a standalone entity, or is there an obvious link to music that Michael has created and released in the past, in your view?
That's an interesting question. I suppose I can only say that it's entirely his idea. I was first approached about Michael Schenker Fest about 1.5 years ago to perform at Sweden Rock together with Gary Bardens and Graham Bonnet, and I jumped at the chance simply because in all my years with Michael, I had the opportunity of singing their songs, and now I have a chance to share the stage and have all different phases in the one show. And I went, what a great idea, right? So I said yes to it. We played Sweden. And then we went into Japan, and then we went back to Japan and did the UK and Germany and Spain. And while all of this was going on, material was being put together by Michael for this new record, which I actually didn't know of the name till right up till the very end, to be honest. And we performed at the Bang Your Head Festival in Germany. And while we were rehearsing for that, we did the photo shoot, which is the front cover of the album. And I think initially it was going to be called The Last Supper, and then he changed it to Resurrection. And each of us were sent a selection of tracks from Michael and his producer, Michael Voss. And he said, look, have a listen. You pick what you want to work on, and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, but I have some tracks I'd like you to work on, and Doogie and Graham and Gary. And that's how it came about. So the ones that were selected for us to work on as individual singers, we did, and we wrote the lyrics and the melodies. And then, of course, Warrior, which is like a lead single off the album. Warrior and Last Supper has all of the singers together on it. And all of that stuff was written, and lines were selected for us to sing, and we just stepped up and sang them like we sing them, basically. Yeah. If that answers your question.
It does. It answers it very eloquently. So, and look, it does lend itself to this question here, because you've done a lot over the years. You've been doing this for a very long time. You have a illustrious recording history. You've released rock-based synth pop with the track Eloise. you've covered charting Steely Dan, or
Right.
you've released charting Steely Dan covers, of
Right.
course. And then there's probably the group that I think most people will know you through, which is the McAuley Schenker group. You have a wonderful story to share. So have you thought about writing a biography or a tome recounting your travels?
Oh, good Lord. I don't know if anybody would be at all interested in reading it. I've never even thought about that. I like, this sounds really, really, really hokey, but I just like music, but I like all genres of music. Somebody asked me the other day if I was to pick my favorite 5 or my favorite 10. I went, I can't do that because tomorrow I might change my mind, And in my quiet time, I might find myself listening to classic music, or I might find myself listening to traditional Irish music that I grew up on. And people would think I was stir crazy. And by the next turn of events, I might start listening to the Sex Pistols because I lived in London for a long time and I was totally into punk. And people were going, dude, you're losing your mind, And I'm going, music is there for listening to. Love it or hate it, there's so much of it out there. I don't like process music.
Yep.
I like music that comes from the heart, passion. I love vocalists who I believe when I hear them. I love soul. I love passion. I love a good lyric. And, I have my favorites from Paul Rodgers to Lou Gramm to what have you. And I grew up listening to Motown. My base was Motown. I just loved all of that stuff. And that kind of stuck with me throughout the years because I like a good song, a good tune at the end of the day. I never actually saw myself as a singer. I wanted to be a drummer. I sucked big time. But I persisted and I went, no, I will be a great drummer, but I wasn't. So, I took some good sound advice, and I used to do backup vocals when I'd be playing drums, and people would say, dude, you need to sing. And I'm going, no, I really don't need to sing. I'm just quite happy doing what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's because I've always had that, I don't want to say complacent, but kind of complacent attitude to, I'm not a singer, but I'll step up to the mic and I'll sing a song, and if somebody likes it, aren't I the lucky one? Mm-hmm. And I've always kind of had that attitude towards it. I love melody. I love guitar players who play with melody. And I suppose I just kind of follow that. I've never thought about, wow, I should really jot these things down and catalog this and one day write a book or something. And people have mentioned it to me, and I'm going, I know nothing. I know nothing. I don't know anything about anybody.
Just talk about yourself. Just write about yourself. I think it'd be really interesting to hear. I mean, you've done so much.
Well, I tend to think that's I tend to think that's really conceited, because that's the kind of person I am. I'm going, shit, dude, stop talking about yourself already, And, outside of the music, I love my family. I love my kids. I have twin boys who'll be 19 on Valentine's Day, and I've been married for 24 years to the same woman. She's from Vienna in Austria. So I love my life outside of the music, and I think, and I have a great family back in Europe, and I think those things are really important to me. It keeps me grounded. I love to go visit. I love to sit and talk about nothing. So, oh Lord, I don't even know how I would go about such a chore.
Well,
I suppose somebody would sit down and go, tell me something, and I'd go.
Well, look, one of my, I've got to say, I've read a ton of music biographies and autobiographies over the years. Maybe I would even go so far as to claim I've almost read all of the ones that I could purchase over Kindle. So I must have read about 30 or 40. Most of the ones that were out there. Now they're divided into two unique halves.
Right.
Either people start talking about the problems they experience through their life, and there's this unusual phenomenon with musicians wanting to talk about the problems they experienced through their childhood. Don't get me wrong, but like anybody that is a fan of their music is really going to be that invested in wanting to understand about the trials and tribulations of their childhood. Or there's the other type, like Max Cavalera, and I'll give Max Cavalera from Sepultura and Soulfly props here, where they just go,
Right.
let's go straight into the music and talk about all of the wonderful and various episodes that happened through their career and talk about some interesting tidbits there. And because you've worked with so many different people and so many wonderful tours and you've had so many releases under your belt, I think it'd be an extraordinary read, I must say.
Well, I will, upon your advice, and I mean this, upon you, I will seriously consider that.
Please do.
And if you know somebody is all interested, send them my way.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah. Well, let's talk about Australian fans and listeners. Have you had much correspondence from us over the years? Have you got an individual fan base here, apart from myself, of course?
I don't. Isn't that sad? That is extremely sad. I don't know why. I think in all my whatever it is that I've done, an opportunity has never arisen that I would actually end up doing a show in Australia, and I always have wanted to. And that's not just because I'm talking to you now. I have always wanted to, and I've always actually, with other musicians, said, they all say, "Oh, dude, you haven't been to Australia? Dude, you need to go to Australia." And I went, God knows I need to go to Australia. I have lots and lots and lots and lots of fellow musicians who have all been to Australia, so I feel like a real dumb shit because I have never been to Australia and or New Zealand, and I'm thinking, talk about having it on your bucket list and not being able to do anything about it. So I hope, I don't know if Michael has been to Australia, has he?
I don't think he has. Yeah, I haven't checked, but I can't recall. And I've been in this for about 25 odd years now in terms of a fan of music, so I can't recall. So hopefully it happens, yeah.
It would be awesome. It would be awesome. I know that working here at this Vegas show, we get a huge amount of Australian people who come to the show weekly. And they all say the same thing. Why don't you come to Australia? And I'm going, talk to the producer and hit him over the head with something and knock some sense into him and tell him we need to go to Australia. Right?
Here's a thought for you. Here's a thought for you. I would love to see you do some work with Bob Daisley. Of course, you'd know who Bob Daisley is. He lives in Sydney. I'd love to see you do some work with Bob Daisley. I reckon his style of writing and his bass playing would suit your voice beautifully.
That's an excellent thought. I haven't seen Bob in many, many years. I used to see quite a bit of him in Hollywood and stuff, and then everybody moves on. But yeah, he's incredible. And if you see him, tell him I said hello.
Yeah, I will. He's a wonderful human being, actually. Yeah.
Yes, he is. Yes, I haven't seen him in many years. Many years. And I had no idea he lived down there. So.
Yeah, he's Australian, actually. So he lives. He's been back in Sydney for about 20 years, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I was so conceited. I was hoping that I'd get a call from AC/DC, so that never happened.
I don't blame you for that, mate. You could have done the job. There's no doubt about that.
Funny. Well, we do some AC/DC stuff in the Vegas show, so people go, "Dude, how come you're not doing it?" And I'm going, because there's another guy whose name escapes my mind right now. That's doing
who would have thought that was
some little known singer?
Yeah. Mate, I better let you go, unfortunately. Believe me, I've got plenty more questions I could ask, and I could certainly have a far longer and broader chat with you. But
you've got a couple of more minutes. You can shoot a couple of more off the hip if you want.
Okay. Well, this is a question I've been wanting to ask you. You, as I've mentioned already a few times, you've been in the business a long time. But what's been your greatest source of frustration with the music biz?
Oh dear. Many, I guess. I think I'm glad that we're not so reliant upon the big record labels anymore like we used to. Mm-hmm. I think I'm glad that the power of the management companies, while it still exists, is not so anymore, because I think we were all sideswiped by the whole thing. I think, you have a manager and you think that all of a sudden, as opposed to him working for you, you feel like you're working for him. right?
Yes.
And everything starts to steer off course, and you're going, why am I doing this? Why is he doing this? And not getting the support that the artist needs. Artists are now, and have been for a long time, so much more independent thanks to the internet, thanks to Pro Tools, thanks to even stuff like Guitar Hero, that my kids were totally into. And it opened doors, and it actually kept the music alive, I think I'll go as far as to say.
Yep.
And brought on a whole new genre of younger kids who my own kids for sure, would play Guitar Hero and go, Dad, do you know this guy? Do you know that guy? And they were so into it that they started going, this is great music. How come we haven't heard this before? So it created a whole brand new, younger generation of musicians. Somebody said to me earlier today, what was it like going back to Japan after all these years? And I distinctly answered that, you always expect, I hate to use that word, expect, should never expect anything, but the loyalty of the fans, and you think, okay, so we've all aged and we've all moved on. There was a plethora of all new, younger generation of fans for rock music, all singing your lyrics and everything. You're going, wow, I would never have expected that. And I'm glad a lot of things in the industry have just gone away, really, because we don't really need them like we used to. And that said, of course, there's nothing like having a big, strong label behind you who believes in you. And I think it's very important that you should maintain your integrity. And I think too many of the labels, too many of the managers took all of the integrity away from the musicians. They just did it because they felt, look, if you don't do this, you're not going to get that. So now there's pressure on you to change course and be something and somebody that you're not. And I think for some new artists, if they stay true to the core, believe in what they do, they will get there because you have the means now to record it in a more simplistic fashion and stay away from the process stuff and let people hear who you are. And I think people believe what they hear. If it's processed, you go, my God, it's like flavor of the week. It goes as fast as it comes out, and it's ever changing. But the real stuff, the real heart and soul of the stuff, has longevity. I don't think you'd have Zeppelin, and you wouldn't have Floyd, and you wouldn't have Clapton's, and you wouldn't have the Stones or the Beatles. There's a reason that stuff is as strong today as it ever was. And Motown, there's a reason.
Yeah, people reaching for real music.
Quality, good quality, real written music, And today, I couldn't. I don't know if I could pick a handful that would fall into that category. So, thanks to Pro Tools, thanks to, and I don't even know if there was ever such a thing as a garage band, really, right? I mean, I think we like to call it a garage band because it was really stripped down and not dependent on the guy in the big building down the street. Yeah. And I think that's a good thing. It did a lot for the industry. I remember living in London when the whole punk explosion started, and people were going, "My God, I've never heard so much trash in my whole life." Yet, in the midst of it, some really good stuff came out of it, and it gave the industry a good, solid kick up the ass that it needed. And all of those years later, Nirvana comes out of the woodwork and changed the entire the gamut of everything again. And it's because somebody goes, enough of this shit, love it or hate it. And every so often the industry needs a reminder that we're just not going to go along with the tribe
status quo
that just sells records. It's not really good. It's not really good stuff, So I'm glad to be out of that part of it because I know in the McAuley Schenker group days there was a certain amount of pressure to write the song that would make MTV or VH1 so that you would get the tour.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I'm glad all that's gone because now you're supposed to sit down and go, okay, let's start the format. What is the format? Who knows? There's always a structure in songwriting. There's a structure in every type of composition. In writing a book, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I'm happy.
No, good on
I'm
you,
happy.
mate.
Some
Yeah.
things could have gone better, but I'm in a good place. So I'm not. I have no regrets. It's all. Everything happens for a reason. I'm here because I'm supposed to be here. So, and so are you, my friend.
Well, our life's journey has led us to this point, hasn't it? You know, where we can have this wonderful discussion. You as a wonderful artist, and myself as an indie journalist, if you like, if that's the title I can bestow upon myself. You know, we've all got our own journey and our own story, isn't it? But yeah,
You are who you are, and you're allowed your expression, and it's great that we can just talk openly about it. And you know, it's not scripted. It is what it is, and I think your songwriting or your music or whatever it is that you do should be the same. Let it come straight out from your heart, because that's real. And I think it's great. I'm glad you took me down that road, because it's easier
wonderful.
to talk about stuff that you can believe in, you know?
Yes, agreed. Well, you know, either way, mate, and all things considered, I really hope we can see you down here in Australia. That'd be a real treat for us Australian fans, because you do have a following down here. People do know who you are. It's not just because of the Michael Schenker thing, it's also because of your wonderful voice and your career. So I hope in the next few years, mate, we get an opportunity to see you down here in some way, shape or form.
You are very kind, and I appreciate you calling me and having an open conversation like we have. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. It means more to me than a lot of the stuff. It's great.
Well, thank you, mate. No, I really appreciate you. Those very kind words from you, mate. So, yeah, well, congratulations on a wonderful career again, and all the very best.
Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll see you in the next near future.
Fingers crossed. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that was my conversation with Mr. Robin McAuley. Thank you so much for listening.